Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. Then when I felt like I really offered society something. People say I'm no good. If I wanted to kill somebody, I'd take this book and beat you to death with it, and I wouldn't feel a thing. It'd be just like walking to the drugstore. You like wolves, kebabs, right, Flanders? Get Flanders, beer, remix,
You believe in God, Charles?
Sure, I believe in myself. Why wouldn't I?
Brainwashing is a spell he has cast down on his arrangement of his 50 or so family members at the height of his fame. Under the impression of many drugs, the favorite being LSD, the followers were easily impressionable. He held control of many, but the most notorious were Lynette Fromm, or Squeaky, Susan Adkins, Katie Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, and Tex Watson.
Is so mixed up, oh, how it got that way. They all look at me and they frown. Do I?
Ironically enough, Manson did not come from that bad of a family himself. Although his mother was an imprisoned prostitute and he never knew his father, he was raised from infancy from his aunt and uncle that owned a nice house in the suburbs. He attended a religious school, which at age 9 he burned down, showing clear signs of psychosis even from youth. His whole life he went from boys' schools and juvenile penitentiaries to state prisons and finally where he remains in San Quentin prison. It was after he was incarcerated for 7 years that he was released amongst Nixon's presidency and the abundance of drugs, sex, and the hippie culture. He fit in perfectly with his rugged look and passion for music, as the girls fell at his feet. All of his followers except Lynette Fromm came from well-off families, even though the families were usually divorced. For example, before she blindly dropped out as Manson's follower, Van Houten was a former Girl Scout and later crowned homecoming princess. Also, Katie Krenwinkel's father describes the girl as gentle and loving animals, and one day at age 19 she left her car and 2 uncashed paychecks to join the family.
Follow me. Did you have any choice? You'll all follow me.
Charles Manson held control over his followers not only because of his enticing ideas, but because they were weak. These girls were looking for some sort of love and he provided it. To achieve his overall control, he would deprogram his followers and make them want everything he wanted, starting with small things such as exercises where they would mirror his moves, face gestures, and hand movements.
Sometimes he would reenact the crucifixion when we were on LSD, and it was very realistic.
Ending with the most terrifying event of all, the actual murders. The followers were unconscious of the mind control Manson held over them. Manson is known as the epic murderer, but he did not ever actually commit any of these murders. Because of his strong control over the followers, they performed the task to prove their dedication.
The victims helpless. The killers a group under Charles Manson's spell. No remorse, no excuses.
No followers, there was no leaders. It's just a bunch of intelligent people trying to put some order into their existence.
Manson wanted to blame the murders on a black uprising. He fully believed the Beatles' song Helter Skelter was a message of the uprising. He wanted to actually cause the apocalyptic fear of a black uprising in the world, but instead he himself became the result of the fear. Even in the court sessions when the outcome did not look hopeful, the girls would still follow Manson's command to show the public that their spirits remained high by singing.
Always is always forever, 'cause one is one is one. Look inside yourself for your father. All is none, all is none, all is one. It's time to talk time from behind you. The illusion has been just a dream. of death and I'll find you. Now is when on a sunshine beam. So bring only your perfection, for their love will surely be. No cold, pain, fear, or hunger. You can't see, you can't see, you can't see.
After the trial of the LaBianca and Tate murders, Charles Manson and his followers that participated in the killings were all given life sentences. With Manson in jail, Lynette Fromm took over the family and strategized for her attempt to shoot the current president, Gerald Ford.
This man is not your president. He's not a public servant.
The first chamber of her gun was not loaded, but had she had the time to fire the second round before Secret Service men grabbed the tiny girl, she could have killed the president. Even just an attempt to kill the president is enough to put fear in the eyes of all Americans.
Do you have any regrets for that day?
No.
People interpreted Manson as the Messiah because he told them he was the Messiah. The media wanted a scandal and the followers wanted something to believe in.
I guess you're my best friend, being I invented you.
The cult consisted of more than 50 people living with him, all of whom believed he was a reincarnation of Christ and Satan in one person.
I seemed like I was controlled by another power. Matter of fact, I told the victims that I was the devil and that I was here to do the devil's work.
And I was convicted for being the father of this country. I was convicted for being Jesus Christ and the devil.
The followers' mind control lasted well into their prison sentences. A little man of 5'4" took America by surprise with his ideas and his control of so many. There was ample ability for this situation to have gone much more out of control than it already was. And we would be looking at a very different America.
Your children would come to me because they never had anybody tell them the truth.
With Charlie, he actually did almost like drug programming. I mean, he was the focal point at all times.
I fall in love with him continuously, but he's very brilliant. And yet, whatever he wants to be, I let him be that.
Charles Manson was in control of it, right?
Yeah, as far as giving orders, but I don't think Charles Manson's mind was in control of Texas mind that night. I think that it was a higher power.
He believed, I would believe, and I would say, and I would spout off.
If you're going to do something, do it well. And leave something with you. Leave a sign to let the world know that you were there. Have a good day.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.